Welcome to the IE Sports Radio Network here. This is Glenn Ritter with the on the Play Show. Great to have you here. Welcome to the Challenge on the Play. Again, my name is Glenn Ritter here with IE Sports Radio. Today we're going to preview some of the today's spicy lineup, bad calls from the NBA, MLB, NHL, NCAA, umpire drama, MotoGP contact, NASCAR's late caution conspiracy, and more. So plug into You Make the Call, our and plug into the You Make the Call, our interactive fan poll at the end. Thanks so much for joining here on IE Sports Radio. I'm your host, Glenn Ritter, again. So I wanted to chat a little bit about some of the big officiating decisions and things that have taken place over the weekend. So just going to chat a little bit about that here. Let me just jumping in here. So again, so what are some of the biggest officiating challenges and decisions that took place over the weekend? So first of all, we do have some information about the Cubs-Tigers umpire disaster. Doug Eddings, strike zone chaos. Even Chipper Jones was piling on with some of his horrible missed calls, because over the weekend there were some bad umpire calls in MLB. It just upsets the players, coaches, and fans, right? Everybody, they can see where the pitches cross the plate. They've got the little strike zone box on those on the televised games, and you can see when they're making a mistake. So like if you think about during the Cubs Tigers game, umpire Doug Eddings made several questionable calls and check swing calls. The frustrating both teams. Chipper Jones is criticizing him online, saying he has been a bad umpire for years. I think he's probably must be taking Angel Hernandez's spot in that discussion. So but also in the Braves game, there's a bad strike call that led to talk about having the automated ball strike system. So that robot umpiring as far as balls and strikes. Personally, I'm kind of in favor of it. I think it works really well in the minors. I go to a lot of the St. Paul Saints games, the AAA team for the Minnesota Twins, and it's always a great little system because the catcher, the pitcher, or the batter can challenge a pitch call. They get 2 challenges, but if they are always right, if they're correct on the challenge, they get to keep the challenge. So I kind of love that system because that's the thing. So we just want to make sure they're right. It's nothing personal about the umpire. They just do a quick little tap on the head, and whether it's the batter or the catcher or the pitcher, they can all challenge that. Can't be done from the dugout, which I really like. So anyway, so I kind of see that this might be something that might end up being switched into the Major League Baseball. So that's my personal opinion. I think that would make a lot of sense. Anyway, so that's just something I think should be taking place. But here, let's it's not just Major League Baseball that has some issues with some officiating, right? As a Wolves fan, I disagreed with some of the calls in that Oklahoma City Thunder game series. But again, that was too far in the past. But when thinking about the playoffs and the NBA Finals, there was a couple of lane violation misses. There's some during the last 2-minute report. There were some blown calls. So just why isn't the whole game reviewed, right? Why don't they give us that kind of information? Like when there's a questionable foul call that happens in the second quarter is just as important to me as it is in the fourth, right? At the end of the game, the whole game matters. We want to get the calls right. So let's see some of that. Anyway, like I said, there's just always some questionable referee calls. Obviously in the final minutes, that's when everybody pays the most attention. But I think that there's just needs to be a little bit more of a focus throughout the game. Because, for example, you look at game 2 of the finals, there were 2 missed lane violations that helped the Pacers possibly changing the game's outcome. In the Warriors-Grizzlies playing game, there were 4 missed calls that were admitted, including a shooting foul and a goaltending. Pacers-Thunder series, there's been some late game calls that were also seen as questionable. So there's just a lot of that takes place. And the NBA admits some of their mistakes in the last 2-minute report, but again, it only covers the last 2 minutes. What about all the other bad calls that happened earlier in the game? Why aren't we seeing more transparency about some of these calls when they can impact things just as much as at the end of the game? Like if a star player picks up their 3rd foul in the second quarter and they get sent to the bench, well, that impacts how the game is going. So I think that's important to kind of keep in mind when we're talking about NBA calls. So again, thanks to the guys that are joining in there. Brian, Taryn, thanks for hopping on. I really appreciate you joining. If you've got any questions about any of these calls, feel free to jump in. Let's see. And Larry. Yeah, Larry, great point. I know we all make mistakes, but come on, one stupid call can really change a game for any team. That's exactly true. So these guys, the officials, they take a beating, right? They are under a microscope, but sometimes for good reason, because I think there is that is valid to challenge and question the motive sometimes of officials, because there are that makes a huge impact on the games. So let's talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup. The Oilers have been furious over some inconsistent too many men and offside non-calls. The Panthers have been able to take advantage. The 2025 Stanley Cup playoff now, between the Oilers and the Panthers, Oilers have been upset about some of their referee calls. On game 3, Oilers got a penalty for having too many men on the ice, which I saw. And there was, I think they did a screenshot that showed there were like 7 guys on the ice. But the Oilers coach said the refs missed the same kind of penalty on Florida in game 2, which led to Florida scoring the winning goal. So again, to me, that's, the biggest thing for players, coaches, everybody is be consistent, right? If we're consistent with the calls, then we're in okay shape, right? I think players can adjust to how the game is being called. But again, there needs to be some consistency from game to game and from period to period or quarter to quarter within those games. Anyway, but yeah, and then there's also some Oilers players. Again, they're thinking that refs missed an offside call in game 3, which can always happen. So basically, the Oilers feeling that the referees have been inconsistent, making calls against them, but not against Florida. So last night, the Panthers kind of stomped on Edmonton 6-1 last night and took a 2-1 series lead, which is looks the way that they're playing can be kind of crazy and be a tough one for them to overcome. So moving on a little bit here to the NWSL. So it's just some madness there. There are 41 fouls, 2 penalty kicks for Portland, 1 yellow. It's just chaos in Portland. They're taking on Racing Louisville. And the coaches are just furious, right? So in the NWSL this weekend, the Portland Thorns were taking on the Racing Louisville. The game had some controversial referee decisions. Referees called 41 fouls, only gave 1 yellow card during regular play, which seems kind of crazy to have that many fouls but only give out 1 yellow. 2 penalty kicks were awarded to Portland, including one very late in the game, which made players and coaches angry. Portland's Jesse Fleming called it embarrassing. And a Louisville player got a red card after the game for arguing. So, I mean, red cards that's huge. That's a huge penalty. I'm guessing that would carry over to the next game, or potentially lead to some sort of a suspension, potentially, I guess. But other games also had some questionable calls. There was a reverse penalty in Chicago with a possible offside goal in Seattle. So the NWSL doesn't use VAR, which might be why some of these mistakes are taking place. So I think it's important for I think it's important for them to look at that, because there's so many players that are getting, and coaches that are getting upset with the refereeing this weekend, right? So VAR has always been, it seems like it's been very good for soccer. Seeing that in whether it's World Cup or Premier League or whatever, being able to have that video review that can make sure that you get the calls right, because I think that's, as fans, what we want. We just want the calls to be right and have some consistency with it, right? But that's my thoughts on it. We try to as I think as fans, Larry, 41 calls. What was that, a Raider game? Kind of sounds like it, right? I don't know. I mean, that seems kind of crazy. And then that interrupts the whole flow of the game too, right? When you're having all of the calls, now you can't let players get away with everything. So you got to keep it under control where people aren't getting hurt, and it's not getting into any craziness where, especially like when in physical games like we have, whether it's soccer, hockey, basketball, if people are not getting protected by the referees because people are taking liberties and being a little bit too aggressive, well, then we're looking at, is there somebody that's going to be getting hurt? And we don't want that. So anyway, again, just some crazy stuff with the inconsistency with officials over the weekend. But let's take a quick break here. We're gonna, let's see. Sorry, my first episode with this, so I'm still getting the hang of everything. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching Challenge on the Play with your host Glenn Ritter, and we'll be right back here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other fill-in like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
All right, welcome back to Challenge on the Play. Make sure you check out our sponsors. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky is absolutely fantastic. I love it. In fact, I was got some right here. I was watching on that in between or before the show. Yeah, needed a little bit of protein. Absolutely fantastic. I have some at work, and again, I just love that stuff. And then Vital Apparel, again, great sponsor. Need some workout gear? Check them out, and you'll see some you get some great stuff there. So, and again, part of their sales goes back to mental health awareness. So definitely check that out. But welcome back again to Challenge on the Play. So we've got this next segment. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the mic'd up madness, some most surprising trash talk and spicy interviews, right? So one of the things that I get a kick out of is Myles Garrett. Since Aaron Rodgers signed with Pittsburgh, says he's ready to put Aaron Rodgers in the graveyard, which gets that rivalry fired up already, right? Myles Garrett thinks he has a good opportunity to put Aaron Rodgers in the graveyard after asked what he thought about Rodgers signing with rival Steelers. I love seeing that because, as a Vikings fan, Minnesota fan, Aaron Rodgers has never been a favorite player of mine. Extremely talented. I'll give him that. But personality-wise, I was very happy to see that he finally signed with another team. So all of the speculation about him playing in Minnesota would just go to the wayside, right? Because I'm just not a fan of him. So hearing Myles Garrett, I mean, he's a heck of a player. So seeing him say those kinds of things, I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out during the season. So anyway, we'll see what whether he's able to back that up, which I have a feeling he'll be able to do that. So he's such a special player. Let's talk a little bit about UFC. UFC 316, poor promotion. There's no Dana White, kind of bland pressers. The fighters and fans complaining about a dull fight week, which it's like, right. I mean, let's have some fun here. Let's spice some things up, right? Because there's the main fight. It was Dishvili. Boy, that I'm gonna have to practice that for later. Taking on O'Malley, no big referee problems, but in the co-main event, Pena versus Harrison, referee took a point from Pena for an illegal kick. That was good, but some experts like John McCarthy said that he made a mistake by restarting the fight standing up instead of putting Harrison back on her strong ground position, which may have helped Pena unfairly. Right, so sometimes referees make decisions like that. And while there was an illegal kick, you got to probably put them back to the scenario that they were in. So before you start the fight back up again. But also, the fans thought that they did a poor job of promoting the event. The press conference was short. Dana White wasn't there. People aren't gonna. They need his swagger to really get excited about the event. So overall, the event felt less exciting than usual. So while the main event went smoothly, people had concerns that the referee in the co-main event and the lack of hype for the event was just lackluster, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I think they could have done a lot more with that. Jay, just pumping up the event, having referee, the officials make better decisions there would have really helped out there. Switching over to NASCAR. So Denny Hamlin liked to play the villain, I guess. So he wins the Michigan and trolls the crowd with the Ohio cheer. Obviously, Michigan and Ohio State are huge rivals. So to see that kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. But Christian, sorry if you're not a huge fan of Ohio State, but Christians are Michigan insider. So anyway, so let's see. But here in the NASCAR series, they did have they had the races in Michigan, had some drama, some mistakes, controversy. Brad Keselowski got a speeding penalty on pit road, which he didn't agree with, but that hurt his race. Some people think NASCAR threw a late caution on purpose to set up an exciting finish, even though they didn't do that for similar issues earlier in the race. So it's, again, that consistency thing. Alex Bauman crashed hard on a scary wreck. He said it was one of the worst hits of his career. So obviously that's scary when guys get in those accidents at those kinds of speeds. Carson Hutchever was leading, but had a tire blowout late in the race. He blamed himself a little, but also said might have just been some bad luck. There was a fuel-saving strategy that slowed cars down at the end, creating tension and passing chances. There were a total of 22 penalties called for things like early pitting, speeding, and pit road mistakes. And again, after winning, Denny Hamlin teased the Michigan crowd by doing the Ohio State cheer, again, loving to play the villain. So that's always fun to see, right? I like to see some of those guys be a little over the top, or a little bit spirited with their personality, letting that come out, try to get under the skin of the Michigan fans there at the racetrack. So that's those kinds of things are always fun to see. But let's shuffle on over to the next segment here. Let's talk about the replay angle. So what we're going to be doing is, I guess we'll do a big rundown of. Oh, let's see here. Sorry. So just under the U.S. Men's national team under Pochettino. Oh boy, that is awful. I'm sorry, Jess. You're probably going to have to correct me on that pronunciation. But just too slow, too cautious. Turkey exploited the hesitation with a 2-1 loss, right? The men's national team, right? The World Cup is a year away, right? And they're going to have to start stepping it up here. So I don't know if it was, there's a lack of freedom of movement and working, or is this the system doomed? I don't know. I do know that I think there were some people that were, not playing it, and some of the best players maybe weren't playing in this game, but from what I had read, but we should be able to beat a team like Turkey. So the men's national team was under a new coach, Mauricio Pochettino. I'm guessing on that pronunciation. I apologize to him if that was not correct. But it's just struggling because they're playing too slowly. Recent game against Turkey, which was a 2-1 loss. Key moments showed this problem. Instead of making a quick, aggressive pass forward, a U.S. player hesitated, played it safe, and seconds later, Turkey scored. The slow and cautious style has become a pattern. Pochettino gives players more freedom than the previous coach, who was Greg Berthaler, used strict positioning rules. While freedom sounds good, it's causing confusion because the players don't always know where their teammates will be, so they hesitate. And anybody that's played any kind of organized sports, when you hesitate and think, you're screwed, right? So you need to be playing free, playing smart, but knowing exactly where your teammates are going to be, so that you can, whether it's going to be through practice or whatever, they have to be able to know where the teammate is. Because the stats show that U.S. is moving the ball slower than any other recent U.S. team. They also create fewer good scoring chances because they don't attack fast enough, which is a problem since most of their top players like Pulisic, Balogun, and Wei thrive in faster, chaotic, counterattacking styles. So the defense is fine, but the offense is dull and low risk, and you're not going to be able to win if you don't score goals. Pochettino and the team need to figure out how to play faster and more aggressively. Otherwise, they won't succeed in the Gold Cup or the 2026 World Cup. Bottom line, U.S. Men's national team is too slow under this coach, and if they don't speed up or take more risks, their offense will continue to struggle. So it's just like I said, in order to, they're going to have to start playing faster. And I think a big part of that is just going to have to be being aggressive. Sometimes if you don't know where everybody's going to be, you might need to switch that system back up and allow people to be in a more structured setting so that everybody's in their positions. But if you're going to want that freedom, you're going to have a lot more practices so everybody knows where everybody's going to be in certain situations, right? Because in order to play well as a team, people need to know where the next person is going to be going, so that they can pass the open areas on the field and on the pitch. So let's moving on to some of the French Open. So is it time for attack? Djokovic explodes over a line call, and is human judging still okay in 2025? So at the French Open, some players, were just unhappy with the line calls because the tournament still uses human judges instead of electronic systems. Novak Djokovic, I got upset during the semifinal when he thought a line call was wrong. Other tournaments use technology to call lines, but the French Open sticks with the tradition of humans, which can lead to mistakes, especially since clay courts make the ball marks hard to read. So I think that's a great point. Why stay away from the electronic system to help, right? That's a huge piece that we're going to, again, help get the calls correct, which is what everybody wants, right? Because this has led to debate as to whether the French should start using the electronic line calling to avoid these problems in the future. And I think that they should. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Again, as fans, players, everybody wants the calls to just be correct. Right. So if the ball is out, the ball is out. Let's get it right, rather than relying on the human eye to try and make sure that whether it was in or out. Boy, that's just the way the ball's moving so fast. How are you going to be able to really definitively make those calls? Right. There's just some challenges there. And then in the UFL, had some challenges there, right? So there was a super challenge fail. Michigan's denied challenge sparks the debate. What's the point if they won't overturn obvious misses, right? So in the UFL, so during this week's UFL games, some coaches and fans were frustrated by the referees. Coaches use the super challenge rule, which lets them challenge almost any call, even penalties, but the refs still refuse to overturn some obvious missed calls. For one example, Michigan Panthers challenged for pass interference, but the review booth said it was actually holding, which happened before the ball was thrown, so the challenge was denied. It's still a penalty. Why isn't that? Why would they say, okay, it wasn't a pass interference, but we're still going to drop the flag for the holding? That makes no sense. It's made fans and analysts wonder if the challenge system is even useful because the standard to change a call seems way too strict, even when the mistakes are clear. All right. Yeah, that's just so sad, right? You've got to, again, let's get the calls right. If there's a penalty on a play and you're challenging that there was a penalty, I don't understand why you have to challenge that, saying, okay, it's for pass interference. Well, that was right, but you should have challenged for holding. What? That makes no sense. Help me out. Help me understand why that makes sense, right? Yeah. So, I mean, overall, UFL's challenge system might not be fixing bad calls like it's supposed to, right? Which is, again, that's the point of replay, is to get the calls right. And if you've got a super challenge to be able to use, and you want them to look at anything on the play, like, what if you were to say, okay, I want to challenge that the right guard held on this pass play, but it was actually the right tackle? Well, nope, sorry, your challenge isn't good because you challenged the wrong holding call. That, again, help me have that make sense, because that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. Anyway, all right, but let's take another little break here, guys. You're watching Challenge on the Play with your host Glenn Ritter here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and we'll be right back with after a few words from our sponsors. Thanks. We'll be right back.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back to the Challenge on the Play. I'm here with your host, Glenn Ritter, here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. All right, so for this segment of the show, we're going to be breaking out something. I want you to make the call. All right, so we're going to have a little fan poll here. I want to see what all of you that are watching. I see 212 people here watching. So let's do a quick little challenge here. So first question for you is right call or blown call. NBA lane violation, no call in game 2 of the Pacers Thunders. Should the refs have reset the free throws? What do you think? Let's hear it. Let's see some comments coming in. Anybody out there paying attention, thinking about this? I mean, to me, if there's a lane violation, and I see this a lot, I guess in NBA games where people step into the lane ahead of the free throw, and it doesn't seem to get called very often, which is just kind of just weird, right? All right, so. Yeah, hit the like button, right? Don't forget to, just, let's see. Where am I at? Okay, cool. Yeah, again, I see that happening a lot in NBA games, and I just don't understand why that's allowed sometimes, because it seems to be called on if an offensive player or a teammate of the player shooting the free throw steps into the lane, they'll wave that one off, but not so much when a defensive player steps into the lane before the free throw, which I don't get. Question number 2. In MLS, Inter Miami's red card with a VAR mess. Should Miami have stayed 11v11, or did the VAR get it right of removing somebody with that red card? I guess to me, so in the MLS games over the weekend, some referee and VAR decisions upset the players and fans. So let me give you a little context here. So in the Inter Miami versus NYC FC game, people thought Inter Miami's red card was unfair and that the NYCFC's player should have gotten the yellow card, a second yellow card, but didn't. Because you get the second yellow, then that turns into a red, which then that person is out of the rest of the game. So there was a possible handball for Miami penalty. It was also reviewed, but VAR stuck with the original no penalty call. Then in another game, the VAR was accused of overstepping, trying to change the decision when there was no clear mistake, so which caused more controversy. So overall, the refereeing and VAR decisions are being questioned again in MLS, and that's. We got to get some of those things under control, right? That's anyway. So in Moto GP, Jack Miller had a penalty, even though punishment for ruining Joan Mir's race for ruining Joan Mir's race. Boy, easy for me to say. Or was that too soft, right? Again, what's the line that you go to? Any thoughts on any of those calls? And then in NCAA baseball, Murray State's magic or a missed call luck? Did Murray State was there tight win versus Duke? Did they get lucky with close plays, or was there something else going on there? Because Murray State made their first ever appearance in the College World Series after defeating Duke 5-4 in Game 3 of the Super Regional Series. The College World Series bracket is set. So what are your thoughts? Did they just get lucky? Did they get some calls that went their way on some close plays? Yeah. let me know. All right, we got some comments in here. Let's see what they got to say. I see what Larry has to say. I've got to go with the lane violation for this one for me. They're all tough. They shouldn't be more consistent with their calls in the NBA, and I agree. That's 100% what's going on. So, yeah. Hopefully, some other people chime in with some other comments. But anyway, let's continue on here. So, looking at, let's just move right along to the next little quick fire rundown. And here, let's talk a little bit about this. So, it gets the MotoGP drama. Riders are complaining about the bikes, the electronics, rough bottles. Yeah. Sorry about that. A little awkward silence. That's all good for everybody, though, right? Anyway, so let's talk about this here. So the MotoGP at the 2025 MotoGP Aragon GP, the race was intense, but not filled with big controversies. Franco Morbidelli and Firmin Aldegar had a rough, aggressive battle. They bumped and pushed each other. Aldegar saying Morbidelli forced him wide. Again, a little bit of contact there. Jack Miller got a penalty for crashing into Joan Mir. Felt the punishment wasn't enough since it ruined his race. Several riders were upset with their bikes. Johan Zarco said his Honda felt bad and hard to control before he crashed. Fabian Quartaro was frustrated that Yamaha's electronics problems weren't fixed. That's always awful. Brad Binder was mad he crashed after crashing out, calling it a waste. So overall, it was a great race. Some rider frustration, but no major controversies or bad calls. Most attention went to Marc Marquez's strong win. So let's see. Moving on, NASCAR did have a late caution conspiracy in Michigan, right? So we talked a little bit about that earlier. So was that staged? Did they force the drama in Michigan? Like why was there that late caution? Was it just to try to get the ratings up, try to get some drama there at the end of the race? Just kind of crazy there. NHRA had some tech drama as well. Had some disqualifications, arguments, lane advantage complaints. So again, people are wanting everything to be fair, but I think it kind of depends on whose ox is being gored, whether the calls are correct or not. So you're not always going to be happy with some of the decisions there. But at the NHRA, the Thunder Valley Nationals, there were some issues and drama. Let's see here. Let's take a look at some of those here. Yeah, so let's see. So Erica Enders lost a qualifying run because her car rear wheels didn't meet the rules. Jordan Lazic was disqualified because the safety pin was left in his car by mistake. Two race teams, KB Titan Racing and Elite Motorsports, got into an argument behind the starting line possibly because of Enders' disqualification. Some fans complained online that the right lane of the track was worse than the left, giving racers an unfair advantage. Which there's enough complaints, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's probably is some reason for that. Austin Prock was upset after losing in the second round because his car didn't perform well. So overall, there were some rule violations, some team arguments, and track concerns, but no major fights or event stopping problems. The Women's College World Series for softball, NCAA, there was a weird obstruction and home plate rule, that confusion, where there's some confusions and sparked some rule change calls. So, yeah, So basically what happened was that during the Women's College World Series, there were some controversial calls, but no fights or bad behavior. But in the Texas Tech game, a Texas Tech runner was called safe after a challenge because the umpire said the Texas shortstop blocked her path, even though there was no contact. Fans and ESPN announcers thought this was a bad call. I think there's so much going on with player safety when it comes to interference or obstruction. In baseball and softball, that I think they're going to try to err on the side of caution to prevent some injuries, because sometimes if there's no contact and a call is not made because there's not contact, well, then they'll maybe go out of their way to try to draw some contact, which you don't ever want to do. So anyway, let's see what else is here. Then in the Tennessee UCLA game, there's a game. UCLA hit a game-tying home run, but Tennessee coach argued that the runner missed home plate and was helped by a teammate. Umpires let the run count because the rules say that this kind of play can't be reviewed, and that obviously upsets coaches and fans, right? So it's one of those things where you got to, as players, make sure you're hitting all the bases and don't get helped by your coaches. Coaches make sure you're not touching any of the runners until after they cross home plate, just as a general rule. I know you're excited. It's a game-winning homer, but you got to just let the play finish without giving people a chance to pull out a technicality and find something to complain about. But I mean, in this game, they hit the game-winning homer, right? It's not like the ball didn't go over the fence. It went over the fence. It's a home run. I think people sometimes need to calm down a little bit on, a teammate or anybody, cheering for them. I just, again, if I was coaching, I would always be telling all the players, like, okay, you can all gather around home plate, but make sure that everybody can see the runner touch home plate. And then once she does, everybody go in and mob her and hug her and do all of those things, right? Because the thing is that people just will joke online about strange rules and said the NCAA should fix them, especially the obstruction and those video rules, right? Again, as fans, players, coaches, we just want to have the right calls be made, right? That's what it all boils down to. So anyway, so that's in the end, again, there was no fight. Nobody got really overly frustrated with the rules or the umpire decisions. But anyway, thanks again for joining me. That's the end of my show. I appreciate you all tuning in. It's my first time here on Challenge on the Play. I look forward to being on with you again here in the future, right? I'm going to be off the next couple of weeks, but somebody else will be coming on instead and taking my place. But again, make sure that you're checking out all of our sponsors. Tomorrow's episode of The Defining Moments is going to focus on uplifting and iconic moments in sports. Reminder to vote in our weekly poll. Share your worst call of the week on social media. And we'll catch you next time here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great week, everyone.